Today, we are in a battle for the safety and security of every U.S. citizen. Threats against our nation are at an all-time high, and our adversaries are actively looking for weakness. And we are putting ourselves in harm's way by not carrying out the most basic function of government, protecting the homeland. This is not a political game. TSA officers are working without pay while protecting our airports. Coast Guardsmen are risking their lives at home and are active in the Persian Gulf. FEMA coordinators are operating with limited resources as we get closer to wildfire season. Federal law enforcement is securing our borders against narco-terrorists. But thanks to Democrat dysfunction, none of these patriots will see their paychecks this month. We already learned this in October. Our homeland security should never be used as a bargaining chip. I urge my colleagues to choose patriotism over partisanship and fund the Department of Homeland Security immediately. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Subramanian.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a little confused why we're still having this shutdown and still having this debate, because House Democrats have been very clear about what we want. We just want no more masked agents and warrantless break-ins. And we also have a bill that would fund the important parts of DHS, like FEMA and like other parts of it, but what we don't want is to be funding private planes for the secretary, and what we want is some accountability for ICE and transparency. This is what the American people want, but I want to remind us about who's actually prioritizing safety, because it's this administration that actually fired a lot of people that were cybersecurity experts. We're now in a war where cybersecurity is at the forefront. They fired a lot of people who were in counterterrorism, and now there's a 22-year-old running counterterrorism for our country, and now we're in a war with a country that specializes in terrorism. And meanwhile, Secretary Noem has spent millions on personal planes. The American taxpayers want accountability for their tax dollars, and they deserve better. I yield back.
The gentlewoman from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 90 seconds to my very good friend, the distinguished gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. McKenzie.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, for yielding that time. For nearly 3 weeks, the key pieces of the Department of Homeland Security have been shut down, and families face uncertainty about their paychecks. This is happening because some in this chamber are choosing to play politics at a time when the work of DHS staff is urgently needed, and despite having negotiated this bipartisan agreement themselves. Today, some DHS components are operating at limited capacity. Trainings are halted, long-term planning is paused, and only bare minimum essential services are being continued. This is not sustainable for our national security. While some have chosen to politicize this debate by exclusively focusing on ICE, this ignores the fact that DHS is responsible for a wide range of responsibilities that are essential for our national security. TSA officers stand on the front lines every single day to secure our skies, yet they're working without paychecks. The Coast Guard can fully execute marine security if they had funding, but search and rescue operations, drug interdiction missions, all of those are in jeopardy because, again, of the opposition from the other side. FEMA's disaster response and recovery efforts are scaled back as severe weather and emergencies approach. CISA, our nation's cyber defense agency, is operating at limited capacity during heightened global tensions. The Secret Service faces constraints in protecting our leaders.
An additional minute.
The gentleman's recognized.
And all of this, again, is after the other side voted in a bipartisan way, supported this effort initially, and then pulled back their support because of politics. It is despicable what we see happening going on in our budgeting process here in Congress. We should stand up right now at a time more than ever to protect the American people and protect our homeland by providing this funding. It's time to put the politics aside, support the men and women who protect our nation, prioritize that safety of the American people, and that means ending this shutdown, passing the bill, and fully restoring the operational readiness of the Department of Homeland Security. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
I would just say to the gentleman about who's playing politics, his words are really disingenuous. Fund my bill. Let's pay these federal employees. Let's pay them all. That's what they deserve. They are working hard. And you want to protect the American citizens? Protect them from ICE and fund the alternative and pay people who are working hard. I'd like to yield now 2 minutes to the gentleman from Maryland, the distinguished ranking member of the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee, Mr. Hoyer.
I thank the
Gentleman's recognized.
I thank the gentlelady for yielding. Mr. Chairman, ICE agents are being paid. Border Patrol agents are being paid. The representation to the American people that somehow we've shut down the agents of ICE is not true. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm told. And the weeping and gnashing of teeth that I hear from some of your colleagues, they can fund right now, through a unanimous consent, all of the people that you are lamenting are not being paid. You have it in your power, or the Speaker has it in his power, to agree to a unanimous consent to pass the gentlelady's bill. And everybody that you're wringing your hands about, not you, sir, Mr. Speaker, through you, the hands are being wrung, are totally without merit. We will vote for, and by the way, we did not vote for the Department of Homeland Security on our side. There were 7 of us. The rest of us voted no, because we didn't agree with what the Department of Homeland Security in ICE, and not TSA, not Coast Guard, not the other agencies, but ICE and CPB. We don't agree with what they're doing. But what you're doing, Mr. Speaker, on that side of the aisle, is to hold everybody else hostage for a bill that we did not vote for. So stop saying we made some deal. Our deal was to separate it out, and we were against it. That was the deal. And that's what I did. I voted for all the rest of the bills, as my side did, and I voted against Department of Homeland Security, because we want what they're doing stopped to protect the American people.
Gentleman, an additional 30 seconds.
I thank
Gentleman's recognized.
So I say to my friends who keep wringing their hands like Pontius Pilate that somebody is not paying them, the people who are not paying everybody other than CPB, and who are being paid out of a huge fund that they have available to them, are the people that you will not let go. We're for funding everybody but the 2 agencies we have mentioned, and we have a difference of opinion on. Pontius Pilate
Gentleman's time has expired.
could not rid himself.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentlewoman from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I reserve at this time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the Republican bill today has no chance. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It has no chance of becoming law. It failed before, and it will fail again. On the other hand, my bill to refund FEMA, TSA, cybersecurity, the Coast Guard, the Secret Service, and other law-abiding components of the Department of Homeland Security while negotiations continue on ICE and CBP, is the most viable path forward. It is the best way to respond to those hard-working federal employees in those agencies. If Republicans are serious about funding the vast majority of the Department of Homeland Security, as President Trump's open-ended war with Iran puts Americans at risk, they must bring it up for a vote immediately. For this reason, at the appropriate time, I will offer a motion to recommit this bill back to committee. If the House rules permitted, I would have offered the motion with an important amendment to this bill. My amendment would have replaced the text of the doomed Republican proposal with the text of my bill to fund the parts of Department of Homeland Security over which there is no disagreement. I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the text of this amendment, and I hope my colleagues will join me in voting for the motion to recommit.
Without objection.
I reserve.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would advise my friend I'm prepared to close whenever she is.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
I am prepared to close as well. Mr. Speaker, we've heard a lot today about the federal workers who are impacted by this lapse in funding. And I have to say, I am surprised to hear so many of my Republican colleagues suddenly express such ardent concern for the fate of federal workers. Where was this concern when President Trump and Elon Musk decimated the federal workforce last year? Where was the concern when they drove close to 1,000 cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency employees? That was 1/3 of the staff out of our nation's leading cybersecurity the agency. Where was the outrage when President Trump proposed slashing funding for the same agency by $500 million? That was part of the president's budget. Not a peep from my Republican colleagues. Where were they when the Trump administration appointed a 22-year-old, an intern, to head the key Department of Homeland Security's counterterrorism, that office? I have no patience for the crocodile tears being shed by anyone who sat by as President Trump and Kristi Noem tried to eliminate FEMA entirely. People who said not a word when the White House hollowed out whole agencies without the consent of the Congress. They were silent when all of these things happened. Now, all of a sudden, they are ardent defenders of cybersecurity and others. It is nothing more, as I said, than political theater. This kind of selective sympathy often betrays a partisan agenda. If Republicans were serious this week, we could have funded every agency under the Department of Homeland Security, except for ICE and for CBP. And I will not vote for another dime for these agencies until we get the reforms that the American people want in stopping these agencies from terrorizing our communities. And by the way, we could have funded every agency under D except for ICE and CBP, who, by the way, and I talked to my colleagues, you're sitting on $140 billion from the one big, beautiful bill. Let's dip into those dollars and pay for these federal employees. I encourage my colleagues, vote no on what is a cynical attempt to extract more funding for lawless agencies because of a crisis that the president has created without an imminent threat. And I call on the Republican leadership to stop blocking my bill to fund the parts of the Department of Homeland Security upon which we all agree, and let's continue the negotiation, continue on the parts that we do not agree on. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I yield myself the balance of my time.
The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking my very good friend, the ranking member, for participating in the debate and for working with us to get most of the government open. Quite frankly, and I want to not correct my good friend from Maryland who spoke earlier, but just provide some context. When we were in negotiations over this bill, we're in the majority in each chamber, and we asked the minority what did they need. And my friend, the ranking member, told me what she needed, and we compromised on almost every bill, all but one. And she said, and this is the form in which I would like to receive it. I think that would maximize the chances of funding most of the government. And she followed her word to the letter. And we got most of those bills through. We actually got all of those bills through because we did it. By the same token, I asked our friends, Senate Democrats, what do you need in terms of this to be able to pass the legislation? Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything in it. It's a compromise bill. So they told us what they needed, and they wanted a package, not a separate vote, and they got exactly what they asked for and exactly what they had agreed to. Nobody got everything they wanted, but yeah, this is a compromise bill. You get it to us in this form, and we can pass it. They didn't. Now, the reality is a majority of each chamber is in favor of this legislation. They were in favor of the other 5 bills, which thankfully were enacted, or we'd be in the middle of a complete government shutdown. Now, the majority of both chambers have voted for this bill. This is a case of the minority deciding to hold the majority hostage. No legislative majority is ever going to agree to that. My friends would not agree with that. I was here when we were debating the repeal of Obamacare. We adopted a similar strategy to what Senate Democrats are pursuing today. And note I said Senate Democrats. Didn't work. I didn't think it was very smart. We brought whole sections of the government out to reauthorize. We could say exactly what our friends are saying today. Well, gosh, you're not for shutting down the Department of Defense. You're not for this. You should vote for that. They didn't vote for any of it because they said they weren't going to be blackmailed, and they also said that that was nonsensical to pick and choose which of the different agencies and particular departments we would keep open. They were right about that. But they're now pursuing exactly what Republicans did and exactly what they condemned so vociferously, and I would say correctly, at the time. This is legislative blackmail, and the people that are being hurt are the people, that have nothing to do with this dispute. That are doing their jobs, the people at FEMA, the people at TSA, elements of the Coast Guard, the civilian elements of the Coast Guard, whole ranges of things I went through in my opening statement. There's simply no justification for it. There are negotiations going on these various matters dealing with Homeland Security. Some of them are in the bill. Body cameras, excellent Democratic suggestion. 9 times out of 10, I think body cameras show the law enforcement official is almost always in the right. But on that 10th time, you certainly want to know when they're not, so you can correct that problem. Good idea. And that was a Democratic suggestion that we incorporated in the bill. Or let's have, de-escalation training, lower tensions. Good idea. That's in the bill. There were other things we tried to get in the bill that frankly probably ought to be done just by operations that we weren't able to succeed. But we have to have a bill that can pass both chambers and be signed by the president. Now, government and appropriations more than any other part is a give and take item, a process. And we negotiated almost everything very, very openly and honestly. We negotiated this bill openly and honestly. It was the Senate Democrats who, after agreeing to one thing, which, by the way, is exactly what happened in the first government shutdown, and we should look at that. How did that end up? 43 days, longest government shutdown history. Did Democrats achieve any of their objectives? No. Now, they think they scored political points. They think it made them more popular, but did they substantively achieve anything? No. Right now, there are negotiations going on, largely involving the administration and Senate Democrats. That's fine, and I understand there's some changes being made there. We ought to allow that process to continue. We should not shut down the government. Now, this bill is substantially the same as my friend, the chairman of the subcommittee, Mr. Amodei, said, as what we saw on this floor 2 months ago. But the situation is fundamentally different. We're in even more dangerous times. We can debate about that ad infinitum, but I don't think we should be debating as to whether our Homeland Security apparatus should be up, paid, operational, vigilant, and alert. This is the time of all times that should happen. And I think some of my friends on the other side, not all of them, but some of them will have changed their mind because circumstances are different. Frankly, we want to give them the opportunity to go ahead and vote that way if they have changed their mind. If they haven't, that's fine. They can go ahead and keep the department shut down. But it is at odds with everything they have stood for and preached, for many, many, many years. And in the end, I don't think it's helpful in moving the country forward or solving problems. I've never favored shutdowns. I've never argued for them. I've always argued against them, whether my party did it, and we've certainly done it, or the other side. Same thing's true now. So, Mr. Speaker, I think if we reflect, we should, in a bipartisan way, do what we did 2 months ago, pass this bill. Hopefully the Senate will have the opportunity to do the same thing. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. All time for debate has expired pursuant to House Resolution 1095. The previous question is ordered on the bill. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
Bill making appropriations for the Department of Homeland Security for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, and for other purposes.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut moves to recommit the bill H.R. 7744 to the Committee on Appropriations.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The motion is not agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Good.
Oh, thanks. I should be good. Appreciate it.
Dave.
Got it. I go to the,
For them for 2 minutes.
really? Oh, yeah, because I'm easy to, yeah. That's good though.
Yeah, it's a blunt way of putting it. For all the recorded, yeah, you know. No, it's good. Is this your stool?
No.
Oh, it's mine. Did you look at that?
The Scotty stool?
No. He's trying to get them.
Tony? Tony's hiding.
I would too.
I would too.
There's a speakers list on the podium.
What's that?
There's a speakers list.
You still following the rule?
Oh, it's house public. The password. Got it.
Didn't know you get that much. Well, you know about the, I don't think these have that. Yes, they do. What do you have? Sorry about that. Don't think so.
Seems like there's quite a few speakers.
Yeah. What?
Cold.
Is it?
I'm cold.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, have you?
Just you here?
Yeah, just me.
Okay. I'll just put them in the.
Yeah. The pulse chat?
Yep.
Yeah, that looks good.
That's all.
We are going to turn the heat on in here. Swear to God. I don't have to bring my box. It's a great day. You guys won't have to. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Let me start by being very, very clear. The Iranian regime is not a partner for peace. It is a regime that won't hesitate to kill our troops, our diplomats, or our citizens if given the chance. This is the same regime that has already murdered hundreds of Americans. The same regime that chants death to America actually in their streets. And the same regime that races to develop a nuclear weapon capable of killing thousands more. And you know what? When this regime threatens death to America, I actually believe them. I take them at their word. And I take those threats very, very seriously. And you know what? The American people do too. That's why President Trump's actions matter. Peace through strength isn't a slogan. It's the strategy that has kept America safe for generations. And President Trump just reminded the world that the United States of America will not be pushed around. But while our troops are strong overseas, Democrats here in Washington are playing politics with our security right here at home. Nearly every single Democrat voted against fully funding America's homeland security. Think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. Every single Democrat, nearly every single Democrat, I think there was one, voted against funding America's security. Perhaps that's why they didn't stand during the State of the Union. But under the Biden administration, more than 380 people on the terrorist watch list crossed over to our borders. Around 100 of them were released back into the interior of our United States. That's not speculation. That's not politics. Those are the facts. And yet Democrats are still refusing to fully fund men and women who protect our homeland, our Coast Guards, our TSA agents, and the professionals working every single day to keep our country safe. That's not just irresponsible, it's absolutely shameful. We can debate policy all day long. That's part of the job. But we do not play politics with national security. We do not gamble with the safety of American people, and we do not leave our troops wondering whether we have their back. So right now, thousands of brave Americans standing watch against Iran's threats, and 6 have paid the ultimate price. To the troops supporting Operation Epic Fury, America and Republicans stand with you. We see your sacrifice, and we are praying for your safety. And when your mission is done, we will welcome you home with the gratitude in which you deserve. With that, I will turn it over to the chairman of our Intel Committee, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you. I thank our Chairwoman McLean for bringing us together.
See how fancy schmancy we are?
Very fancy, very fancy. I want to first acknowledge the incredible success of Operation Epic Fury. This is a testament of the leadership of the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department. This operation has been a masterclass in American military superiority. We continue to pray for our safety of our U.S. service members, and we pray for the families of those 6 that have been lost in service to this great nation. Let me say one thing that's important to note. This is not a new war. The Iranians have been at war with the United States since 1979. This is a 47-year predicate, and President Trump had the courage and the resolve to say, not anymore, not on his watch. We're going to put an end to this. And for the former military intelligence officers who've served in Central Asia or the Middle East, they know that this is not a new war. It didn't just happen out of the blue. And I would also say this has been an unprecedented level of transparency exhibited by the Trump administration. I certainly haven't seen this level of transparency in my time in Congress, or for that matter, I can't recall, even as a military veteran, the level of transparency that's been exhibited by President Trump. As Chairwoman McClain indicated, the Democrats are playing games with our national security, refusing to fund our DHS. This just can't stand. This is not the time to be playing games with funding when we have such a high threat level here. Iranian proxies remain committed to Iran's dirty work, and they're not limited to a specific geography. They'll come here and they'll exercise here. Cyber attacks could be particularly damaging here in the United States, and we should never allow lack of imagination to be our downfall. Every single day, DHS remains shut down. The Democrats are sending a message to the American people that they don't care about our safety, they don't care about our national security. With that, I want to recognize Representative Evans.
I know, I do like that. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I'm Congressman Gabe Evans, Colorado's 8th Congressional District. I was a cop for 10 years. I was a soldier for 12 years. I deployed to a combat zone in the Persian Gulf region, or the Arabian Gulf for our service members over there, in 2012 and 13 as part of the global war on terror, where I served as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot and my battalion's intelligence officer. I had a 5-month-old son when I left. He had just finished a month-long stay in the hospital. He was 18 months old when I came back. I missed every step. First steps, first words, first Christmas, first birthday. And so I want to speak directly to our deployed servicemen and women. We have your back. I've been there. You're there now. You trained for this. You are ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States. You are the guardian of freedom and the American way of life. When a nation sends its finest young men and women in harm's way, it is the obligation of that nation to support its warriors. We know the imminent threat that Iran posed. I know the imminent threat that Iran posed. We know what happens when that nation does not support its servicemen and women. I hit boots on the ground a week after Benghazi, and I will not repeat that same mistake. We have the backs of our servicemen and women. We have the backs of our federal and state and local law enforcement. I've done both jobs. The military is the outer perimeter that keeps our country safe. State, federal, local law enforcement, that is the inner perimeter that keeps us safe. They are the thin blue line. They have the watch. And so to my colleagues across the aisle who are denying our Homeland Security personnel their checks, I urge you, pass the Homeland Safety Appropriations Package so that we can pay the personnel that keep us safe on that inner perimeter here in the United States that work for our Department of Homeland Security. Our nation's security and my constituents' security depends on it. Thank you so much for coming. And now I want to introduce my good friend and colleague and a fellow veteran, Marionette Miller-Meeks.
I should lower the podium. Thank you, Representative Evans. The freedoms we cherish, the freedom to speak our minds, the freedom of the press, the freedom to vote and pursue the American dream are not guaranteed by words on paper alone. They are secured by the courage and the sacrifice of men and women who wear the uniform of the United States. And as a 24-year military veteran, married to a 30-year military veteran, the father of a veteran, and of whom 8 children in our family, 6 of them served in the military, I know that truth all too well, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Today, I want to shine a light on 2 brave Iowans who gave their lives in service to our country. Major Jeffrey R. O'Brien of Indianola and Sergeant Declan J. Cody of West Des Moines, who were among the American service members killed by Iranian strikes in Kuwait. They were sons of Iowa, soldiers who stepped forward to defend our nation and protect these freedoms that we hold so dear. And because of heroes like them, America has stood for nearly 250 years as the freedom capital of the world, a beacon of hope where liberty still shines bright. And let me also tell you what our military and our veterans want. After having seen the egregious activities of Iran, continually at war with us since 1979. We've seen the Marine Corps barracks attacked. We've seen the U.S. embassies attacked. We have seen the U.S. coal attacked, and members of the military paraded and shamed. Our military members want to know that we, in fact, have their back. And that means a response from the United States, not seven presidents saying we cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran. To our active duty military, we know you are in harm's way. We pray for you. We pray that you have all of the training and the equipment that you need. And if you don't, contact us and we will make sure that you get it. But you are defending this great country, and we, in the Republican Conference, we have your back. To the men and women serving our nation here at home and abroad, and especially those standing watch in the Middle East tonight, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your sacrifice. And know this, America stands with you, always. God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America. I'll now introduce Representative Nick LeBeau.
Thanks, good to be with you all. Only Trump derangement syndrome can explain why House Democrats and Senate Democrats are blocking the Department of Homeland Security funding bill. That bill, and they say it's about ICE, but it's not. That bill and ICE is already funded for years. CBP is already funded for years. But the funding that comes from that bill funds our Coast Guard, our TSA, our cybersecurity professionals. And we're here today to highlight a few different issues. To ensure, one, that our colleagues from the other side of the aisle step up and meet the moment. Now, especially with conflict in the Middle East, is not the time to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security. We could be under attack by Iran. Cybersecurity issues have already risen in our borders already in the last week. It is time for Senate Democrats and House Democrats to do the right thing for the country and to fund the Department of Homeland Security appropriations bill. They should reject the notion that that party has had for the last few years to reject everything that President Trump has had. He's right to support funding for the Homeland Security Department, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. I want to bring up my friend from Iowa, Air Force veteran, Representative Zach Nunn.
It's always a privilege to go after a Navy man. Thank you very much, sir. Friends, this week, Iowa will receive two more of its own who died in defense of our nation. This follows on a trip that many of us had to Dover earlier this year to receive two Iowa Guardsmen who were serving in CENTCOM, killed by terrorists, and had the opportunity with the Iowa National Guard, a unit in which I have served, to be able to take action and eliminate that threat through Operation Hawkeye Strike. The brave actions of our men and women in uniform, whether it's in the Department of Defense or the Department of Homeland Security, is a direct reflection of the commitment that young people across our country are doing to protect all of us. As is noted, less than 1% will put on that uniform, but they will defend the 100% here on the home front. I want to share the names of Sergeant Deacon Cody. Cody was 20 years old. He followed a pathway that was very similar to my own. We both went to Drake University. We both wanted to serve our country. This young man actually was ahead of me in line. He was already a staff sergeant at age 20. With his family's blessing, he went to go serve in the Middle East. And he was serving with the detachment out of Des Moines, the 103rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command. There he was joined by his major, Jeffrey R. O'Brien, from Waukee, also growing up in Indianola, Iowa. He was a senior NC officer who had dedicated decades of his life to answering the call and mentoring young troops. This week they will come home with a flag not flying over their home, but draped over their coffin. The reflection of 6 KIA are a reflection of the ultimate sacrifice put forward to defend this nation. But they're also accompanied by 9 wounded in action. We spent most of the day on the phone yesterday with the spouses, with the families, with the kids, as they were evacuated from Kuwait under a barrage of Iranian weapon systems. I'm happy to report that they are now safe in Germany, waiting for their family. Their wounds are still under assessment, and I won't make any comment on their health. or their final diagnosis until the families are with them. But I will say this, that the toll that's being taken, not just on those serving on the front line, but on the simple fact of trying to get Americans back into country, 17,000 of which have been done so bravely by our State Department and our Homeland Security, as well as the families just trying to get on a plane today, they'll pass by another group of individuals in uniform, our TSA agents. The same TSA agents who I awarded just 30 days ago a distinguished medal for their longest shutdown without pay. Frontline members of our security apparatus, protecting all of us, who now are facing no pay again. And while they're joined by brave sailors from the Coast Guard, members of FEMA, thousands and hundreds of thousands of individuals who are paid under the DHS budget, tragically, my colleagues on the other side have seen fit to continue this shutdown that deprives not only national security, not only the pay for these individuals, but makes it hard for a family member to be able to visit a wounded veteran in a time of crisis like this. Americans know it doesn't need to be this way. I'm proud of our leadership for continuing to fight forward, to recognize that we should fully fund our government, something that's not been done in the appropriate way since 1993, but most importantly, that we defend the things that matter, our nation. So for that 1% of Americans wearing the uniform, whether overseas or at home, not only do we thank you, we have an obligation to you. I'm proud to say that this team is standing up to do the right thing in the same way that you have. And as a combat veteran like so many on this stage who have flown these operations in the Middle East, our security at home starts with our security overseas. The most important security is the one that takes all of us into account, including our families, right here on the home front. Thank you very much, Lisa. With that, I'd like to invite my very good friend, an aviator, a helo specialist, a Navy veteran, Ms. Jen Kiggins, to come to the podium.
Thank you, Zach. It's a privilege to be here. I'm Congresswoman Jen Kiggins. I proudly represent Virginia's 2nd District, home to our East Coast Navy. When you turn on the news at night, you most likely are seeing an F-18 taking off an aircraft carrier, probably from my district. We're so proud of the men and women who have stepped up to serve. You know, we joined the Navy. I'm a Navy veteran, married to a Navy veteran, mom, proud mom of a future Navy veteran, active duty Navy pilot. When we join the Navy, when we put that uniform on, we don't join the Navy to sit at the pier. We joined the Navy to take that warship to sea, to be that tip of the spear, to be that deterrent. I couldn't be more proud of the men and women who are serving in the Middle East right now, especially the sailors from my district, but all of our military members. We're asking them to do an important mission, to finish the work that was started by Iran decades ago when they declared war with America. They've been chanting death to America in their streets for decades now. So the fact that this administration has put their legacy on the line and has taken that step to say we'll tolerate this no more and to make our country and our world a safer place, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of that team. At a time when we're asking so much of our military members and their families, I want to encourage my colleagues across the aisle to step up and support our military like this group of Republicans in our Republican conference has done. Right now, we're playing politics with something like the Department of Homeland Security funding. I don't need my active duty members to be worried about the safety and security of their families that they've left here in the homeland. We need to go ahead and stop playing politics. This is a time to be unified, a time to stand together with our military and our military families so they don't have to worry about that safety and security piece. So I couldn't be more proud of the men and women in my district. I couldn't be more proud to stand with them every day of the week and to remind them that not just me, but my entire conference, the people on stage behind me, and the people here in Washington have their backs. We support them every day of the week. God bless each and every one of them, and God bless our great nation, the United States of America. Thank you, and I give the floor back to our chairwoman, Lisa McLean.
Thank you. And Mr. Crawford, if you want to join me, Chairman Crawford, we'll take a few questions.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman, Chairman, other members. When it comes to the Department of Homeland Security funding bill, the Democrats' demands, as you know, are policy in nature: a ban on ICE operations at churches and schools, a ban on mosques, requirements of judicial warrants, etc. Are you, as a conference, any closer to agreeing to those demands or some of those demands, or are you not, in which case the bill seems destined to fail again?
Let me take that. I'll take that. Listen, we've been clear. We've funded ICE. We continue to fund ICE, we continue to fund our homeland, but we are not going to put Americans at risk. We are on the side of law and order. We are on the side of law-abiding citizens. All you have to do is compare and contrast the split screen. Take a look at who the Democrats are supporting. Illegals, sanctuary cities. All we're asking from the Democrats is to keep America safe and put Americans first and law-abiding citizens first. So what I find is a little bit funny is the party of masks, right, all of a sudden wants to unmask all the ICE agents. Just look at the contradictions. You should ask yourself why we're in this situation to begin with. If 20 million people didn't cross our borders, we wouldn't be having this situation and we wouldn't be having these conversations that we're having right now. So what I would ask the Democrats, protect the people that elected you to serve, and that's your constituents, and protect Americans.
One other point I'll add to that, one of the demands that's been communicated was that they wanted ICE to cease operations or to not operate within proximity of voting locations. What does that tell you? So I think, think about that. That means they anticipate there being a reason for ICE to be at polling locations, and that should tell you everything you need to know about where they stand.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of questions on the Iran bills up for vote today. Do you anticipate the war powers resolution will fail? And do you believe you'll get enough Democrats on the non-binding resolution declaring Iran a leading state sponsor of terror to pass under suspension?
I wouldn't handicap either one of those, but I will say this, that we need to understand that the president plays a role in the legislative process. So if they want to engage in political theater and raise this War Powers Act that they're trying to move, whether or not they're successful remains to be seen, but the president will have the final say on that. And I would also say that the president is acting well within his constitutional authority under Article 2, and he's doing it very well.
Last question. On DHS negotiations, what, if anything, do you think you can maybe find a middle ground on with the Democrats?
From my perspective, not much. Because what they're asking for is absolutely ridiculous. What we're asking for is follow the law and protect American citizens.
Oh, yes. Chairwoman, I want to ask, what led to the decision for House Republican leadership to call on Congressman Gonzalez to resign? And do you expect him to finish out the rest of his term?
Yeah, my hope is he would finish out the rest of his term, and we issued a statement. We didn't call for him to resign. We asked him to
withdraw from
the race. So I would refer you to the statement that leadership put out.
Thank you.
With that, thank you.